Reefer buddies, what's up? Robert back to do another video. All right, we got some updates today. Let's break right into it. First thing we're going to talk about is not even fish tanks. So unfortunately for me, this is an MRI. For those of you that have not ever seen an MRI image, this is what it will look like if you have an MRI done of your cervical spine. So I've had the problem for a while and it's come to a head. If you can see here, so these are my vertebrae here, right? So you got the C2, the C3. You see how nice these discs look right here? All nice and square and perfect. Now this here is the spinal cord. And then around, there's a membrane that goes around the spinal cord and there's fluid in there. Well, unfortunately, I have disc degeneration disease in my C4-5, so disc of vertebrae 4, vertebrae 5. The disc in between, this is the most prominent bulge you can see here. It's compressing against my spinal cord. We have the problem down here too, and also down here. Now, this MRI is actually from 2018. I just had a new one done and it's actually worse than this, but it's really hard to see because of the image is not very clear. But anyway, it's very, very similar to this. So what does this mean for me? So I saw the neurosurgeon and he's like, you're gonna have to have disc replacement surgery. He wants to replace all these discs here and put in titanium discs. I'll be like a Terminator. I'm gonna turn into Terminator. Sarah Connor. Yeah, so all this titanium in here, there'll be a titanium plate as well. I'll lose some mobility in my neck. This is a disaster. I've known about this, and it's finally my age it's all caught up with me. I'm an old man. I'm 54 years old, so I've gone as far as I can go, and I'm gonna have to make a decision soon. So anyway, this is going to affect my aquarium at some point because I'm going to be down for a while. But moving on past that, now everybody feels sorry for me. You can subscribe to my channel and like all my videos just out of sympathy. So I got my recent ICP back and came back pretty good. So you can see my salinity was a tad bit high, alkalinity 7.4 basically. And here, this is an indicator of organics in your water, okay? I'm actually pretty low. They want you between 2 and 8, and I'm at 1.45, okay? And I think the M stands for moles. Not sure, I have to look that up. But I've always kind of been in this range, which is an indicator of higher water quality, okay? And that's where you kind of want to be. It makes sense too with where my nutrients are at. Also, let's go, okay, so all this stuff here is pretty much normal and what I expected. Calcium 420, boron 5.0 and so forth. Potassium, I'll actually just mention the important ones. Like potassium is really important, so I'm at 415. And strontium 10.2, magnesium 1471. And I've been here the last few tests. It's kind of the range I've been at, a little bit on the higher side, but works for me. And then this is where things get complicated, right? When we try to make sure that we get our trace elements in the proper levels, at the proper levels. And some of the ones I struggle with the most are chromium, cobalt, fluoride for sure. It really took a dive on me this time. My corals just suck fluoride up. Iodine was really high. It's finally coming down, so that's good. I think originally I was like at 233. It was super high. Can you imagine if I wasn't doing these ICP tests? I wouldn't have even known. Manganese is finally coming up. I've been dosing more of that. Everything gets put into the Reef Moonshiners tool, and then they give you the directions on what you need to do for correction doses and your daily doses, okay? So the numbers are starting to come together, but slowly. I've always had trouble with rubidium, but not now. Look at my rubidium, it's really high. But that's according to this to this test right here. But Reef Moonshiners has their own recommendations. They actually recommend rubidium at 300 milligrams per liter. Or is that micrograms per liter? Yeah, micrograms per liter, sorry. So I'm actually okay there. Selenium, always having trouble keeping that up. Same thing. Vanadium, not so much. but I'm right where I need to be with vanadium at 1.73 micrograms per liter. And the recommendation is, I think, well, the recommendation for reef moonshiners is actually 1 to 2.0, okay, micrograms per liter. So you can see that that's different than what's listed here. These ideal values are based on natural seawater. And then zinc has always been a tough one to keep up. So you start to learn which trace elements are consumed the most and how you should adjust from ICP to ICP to accomplish getting them where you need them to be at the recommended levels. But I think a lot of us talk about zinc and nickel, and some of the ones I've already mentioned as being some of the tougher ones to maintain. And then of course the pollutants all came back good. And then nutrients. So phosphate, I was at 0.078, nitrate 14.51, which lines up with my HANA test kit perfectly. And the phosphate as well. So those came back almost identical to the HANA results. I always, before I send the test out, I test with HANA first so I can compare them when I actually get the results back from Oshimo. And what else? Oh, my RO leaked out. Whoa, you guys hear that? Holy shit. That's lightning and thunder out there. Oh my goodness. God's not happy right now. Loud, huh? Oh, that scared the hell out of me. All right, so anyway, where was I? Yeah, my RO sample leaked, unfortunately, so no results on my RO. Not too big of a deal. But anyway, that's working out great. I'm debating whether or not I'm even going to do the water change. I tested the nitrate today with the HANA, and it came back at 15.3, which lines up pretty much with these results as well. And my phosphate was 0.07. So yeah, everything's really lining up. I don't think I'm going to do a water change. I think I'm going to actually just go for 2 months without a water change. Anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at with the ICP test and the results. Man, it's really raining right now. This is Southern Oregon, by the way. That's where I'm located. Oh yeah, this is going to get nasty. Holy. And it's coming down. This has turned into a weather report. We're gonna skip the fish tank. Oh, it's hail. Man, look at that. Wow. Yeah, you know, around this time of year here in Southern Oregon, we always get these crazy thunderstorms with hail. And then it'll just flood everything, and then it just all of a sudden stops. Well, anyway, back to the tank. I'm gonna go ahead and just close this window. So what's been going on with the aquarium? So a couple things. So I finally got my the tuna blue, the Kessel Light, the A360XE mounted properly. So I squeezed it in there, and I'm getting a lot more of the shimmering now. You can see that. It's awesome. Gives you that kind of metal halide look. That's what I wanted. And you know, just to reiterate, I'm not really using the light for additional par, which I will get obviously, but it was really just for that shimmering effect that I wanted. So that worked out really well. I got lucky with the way I was able to mount it. I just mounted it to my RMS bar and kind of took the gooseneck and just turned it right into here. So yeah, that worked out great. What else have I done? I forgot to mention this last time, is I basically now have, that's calcium chloride, and then I have magnesium right there that are being dosed through Mobius. And I dose about 4 mils of magnesium a day, and calcium's about 40 mils per day. Okay, so that's working out great too. I had a reactor before, and reactors are great, but I just don't need one for this tank. I'm doing just fine with the sodium bicarbonate, which is controlled by the AquaWiz. And the reactor I have was a bit of a pain in the ass. It was the Octo 200. It's a great unit, it's built like a tank. There's a lot of pluses about that reactor, and it works good, but I had to constantly purge it, and it would cavitate because air would build up inside. And so that's kind of one of the downsides to that. But you know, once you get a calcium reactor dialed in, it should work perfectly for you, but it definitely requires some tinkering. My understanding is that Reef, they probably make some of the best reactors on the market right now. And I've spoke to the owner a few times. He's awesome, and he'll pick up the phone, he'll talk to you, he'll give you his time, which I think is great. A lot of companies won't talk to you, they just want you to email them. And I'm an old school guy, so when somebody picks up the phone, especially when they're having lunch and it's the owner and they're willing to talk to you about their products in high detail, I appreciate that. So I would recommend Reef to anybody who's looking for a reactor. So go check them out, georeef.com. Anyway, got sidetracked there. So those things, and the reason why I took this rock out last time, I remember saying that I didn't remember why. I had an acan echinata down here that was growing on the side of that rock. I actually had to basically scrape it off the rock because it was just impossible to frag it. And for those that know about acan echinatas, they're super aggressive, man. It was stinging the shit out of everything near it and just killing it. So that's kind of what precipitated having to remove that coral, caused me to make some changes, and I ended up moving that big rock. But it obviously worked out for me. So we opened it up a lot more. Acans are doing great. Oh, I should mention something. This is the second time I have one peppermint shrimp in here. I was able to catch the other one, and I got real lucky. I had to set a trap for him out here in the corner of the tank with I used an algae clip I took some nylon mesh and put some frozen food in there and rubber banded to the clip. And I had to, go into stealth mode and come out, each hour, like midnight, 1 o'clock. I think it was about 2:30. I finally caught the shrimp out here, and I was able to catch him. But I lost him once, which really pissed me off. And then he came back out, and I barely caught him the second time. The reason why was because he was starting to eat my acans. In fact, I had 2 that were dying, and I was surprised because I've done so well with acans, and then I actually saw the shrimp. When there's not enough food, and I feed heavy, peppermint shrimp, especially when they're pregnant, because this happened before with another peppermint shrimp. That shrimp was also pregnant, had thousands of eggs underneath its tail, and they're hungry, and they will absolutely eat acans. So if you're having a problem with acans and you have peppermint shrimp, when the lights go out, you got to wait a couple hours, go check on those acans. And if you're having trouble with acans, all of a sudden they start to die, it could be that peppermint shrimp. Interesting though, it doesn't mess with the scalemia, it didn't mess with any other LPS, it just went after the acans. Acans, I guess, are like the ribeye for those shrimps or something, but so I had to remove that shrimp. Caught him out. The other peppermint shrimp, not having a problem with that one. Now they're different species of peppermint shrimp, so that could also be a factor. I did some reading, and I think people were saying that the peppermint shrimp from Florida are your safest bet, but some of the Indo-Pacific ones have been reported to eat some coral, okay? And this is not because the coral was damaged or some tissue was dying off and the shrimp came to clean it up. This shrimp was eating perfectly healthy polyps and cleaning them off, okay? Just ripping that tissue right off. So that happened. All my anthias got sick. When you see the white poop, that's big time problem. Okay, they were spitting out food, they had the white poop, head shaking, hiding. And so what I've been doing to manage that problem, I've lost one. I lost one of I had added 3 new, smaller female leertails. One of them has died. The other 2 are still alive, and they're actually doing better. I can report that right now, that they're eating, they're coming out more, and they're responding to the treatment. So what I'm treating them with is, I'm doing 2 treatments. This one's done. I put a few drops of this in a tablespoon of frozen food, the Prazi Pro. This is for flukes, okay? I knew I had them, especially with the Tamini Tang, and this has really worked out. The Tamini Tang is no longer surfing in front of the MP40. He was doing that every night, and that's usually a sign of flukes and worms, okay, that are irritating their gills. So that is all stopped. So I treated this for about 7 days. And then for the internal parasites, I'm using Metroplex, and Focus will help bind this medication to your frozen food. And this is a treatment anywhere from 10 to 14 days for the anthias. And actually, I'm treating all of the fish. because it's a possibility that most of the fish in here did have internal parasites. But Anthias and pajama cardinals definitely respond negatively to internal parasites. And I noticed that my PJs had stopped eating, and they were also spitting out food and doing some head shaking. So everybody's getting treated, even the tangs. Tangs are bulletproof for the most part, but the fact that I'm treating the whole tank and everybody is eating the food with the medicine in it is great. So I can just get rid of this internal parasite problem. And if you notice the Timini, see how much nice, he's darker now. He's a lot, he started to lose color. He was kind of going more towards the lighter side, a little more, you know, when they stress out, they get a little faded. And he was just surfing the MP40 all the time. And that is completely stopped with the Prazi Pro. So that's a major indication when fish behave that way that you might have flukes, okay? And you can put it in the frozen food. It's not going to affect your aquarium or your corals or your microfauna, okay? Or the biology of the tank, the bacteria, nothing's gonna be affected. So as long as the fish are eating and they consume the food, and if you can feed 2 to 3 times a day, which I'm doing, you should be able to accomplish your goal and eradicate those parasites and flukes and such. All right, so I've been doing that. I had to remove my hawkfish, unfortunately. My long-nosed hawk just went nuts. I added 3 new, these Banghai cardinals. He killed one immediately. It just ripped the whole back tail off. It was terrible. Tried to kill the other 2. He actually was also chasing the smaller Anthias. He was getting way more aggressive. I'm not sure. I mean, he's a hawkfish, right? So I guess he decided he was going to become a serial killer. So he had to get booted. I had to catch him out. And so I waited 2 nights ago. He liked to sleep up there in that corner. You see where the Jason Fox flame is encrusting out near the return line? He would sleep in that little crevice right there. So anyway, waited till, you know, a couple hours after the lights went out, and I netted him successfully, caught him out. And now these 2 remaining, I have 2 of the bang eyes left. They are eating, which is great. The other one I think is down here. Yeah, he's right there. They're small too. I mean, I don't know if you can see that guy. Yeah, he's kind of like right there. But they're eating, and I'm glad that they won't get killed. So sometimes you just have to make these adjustments with fish. Fish are a pain in the ass, man. They just, everything can be working out, and then all of a sudden one fish just goes insane and starts, it gets too aggressive and starts killing other fish or attacking other fish, causing stress. So hawkfish had to go. The Banghai cardinals will have a chance to, they are eating, you know, to adapt to the tank and grow and hopefully do well long term. So that is an issue that had come up. I also added a Mandarin goby, really good size. I mean, he's gigantic actually. I ordered him in, it was like a custom order through my local store, and they got him in yesterday. So he's in the back. Seems like he's doing pretty good. I'm a little concerned about larger mandarins because usually they're smaller than that, and that might be an indication that, you know, he's been out in the wild for a really long time, and I'm not quite sure how well that fish is going to adapt, you know, to switch from, you know, being in your natural environment for that long and then coming into a closed system like this. You know, I have my suspicions that this may not work out. It's going to depend. I do have a good copepod population, but it's one of the biggest mandarins that I've seen. It's just gigantic. So we'll have to see how he does. He's in the back, so I can't really get a good shot of him, but he was added yesterday. What else is going on in here? Oh, okay, so here's a major announcement, and this really sucks. I rent this house, and I have a terrible neighbor, and these houses are connected, unfortunately. And she just loves to report every single noise. She files false complaints. She filed a complaint on me on Easter. I wasn't even home. I was in a mass for 3 hours, and then I was with friends from church for the whole day. I wasn't even in the house, and she filed a complaint. The landlord knows that she's full of shit, but we're kind of exhausted from the constant bickering and complaining. We've been here for almost 7 years. It's time to move. So we're going to be moving out of here October 1st, which means I got to move this tank, which we all know is a drag. right? There's just no way with all the growth that I've had, and these corals are not going to be happy that I'm pulling them all out. I can prepare, get all the bins. I'm pretty sure I can do this in a way that would be pretty safe, but even if you do everything right, more than likely you're probably going to end up losing some coral. So I don't know, the time comes. If anybody's interested in some free frags, I'll be happy to send free frags to my subscribers. You guys got to pay for your own shipping, but it would be better just to give people some coral than take the chance of losing it, right? So I'd be willing to do that. So if anybody's interested in be October 1st, probably be like, we would do this between September 15th and September 30th. If you guys want some frags, I'll be happy to cut off some good sizes and send them to you, okay? But yeah, like I said, you got to pay for your own shipping and boxes and materials, okay? So just keep that in mind. We got 6 months until then, but I know that's going to be a effing nightmare, man. But I'm also thinking about when I'm either going to buy a house or maybe rent again, but nobody knows this about me, but I was one of the first garage businesses. It was called Aquatic Reflections back in 1997, and kind of started the whole thing. And in fact, if you see that California tort, it used to be named after me. It used to be called the Dalton tort, and they stripped it of my name. They took it away from me. And I see where the garage businesses are today, and I think it's just fantastic. But it wasn't my idea. I'm not going to take credit for that. I was managing an aquarium store in the Bay Area, and I had an employee that came up with that idea, and he said, it's yours if you want it. He's like, you know what you should do? You should take pictures of corals and fish, upload them to a website, and sell them to people, because access was a huge issue. You could be living in certain parts of the country and there's no LFS near you, right? So I started the first online aquarium. Actually, you could argue that maybe Steve Tyree did, actually. But I did it on a larger scale. I was in the Bay Area. I'd fly down early in the morning, like 5 a.m. on a plane, go to LA, handpick all the corals, drive them back to the Bay Area. I had a garage that was all these aquariums, right? It was designed to house and sell coral, and did really well with that, actually. Now that I reflect back, I think I should have just kept it there. I eventually ended up opening up a full retail store, and managing a full retail store is very difficult. I did not do very well with that. And we also had that 2008 mortgage crisis that hit. So it was really hard on our business, and I ended up getting out. But always loved the hobby. And one thing about being a hobbyist is if you decide to make this a business, I think it's safe to say that it does affect in some way, how you look at the hobby, and because it's a passion, right? And then when you turn it into a business, it strains that passion. You're just so focused on, okay, I'm running a business now, I got to sell coral. You kind of lose that excitement. At least I did, and that's not something I ever really want to pursue again. But if I do move to a place, I was thinking about maybe setting up some aquarium tanks in my garage to sell fish, okay, quarantined fish. I think there's a real demand for that, and try to keep that reasonably priced for people and not try to price gouge anybody. I can't stand the prices of aquarium fish. It's disgusting. I used to sell yellow tangs for $15, okay? Chevron tangs for $60, $70. $2,500 for a Chevron tank? Come on. We're getting screwed over, people. And I don't blame the retail stores. It's starting at the wholesale level. And I think this has become a problem. My understanding, people have been telling me that prices went way up when COVID hit, and they've not come back down. It's really unacceptable. And it markets a lot of people out of the business. Out of the hobby, So it'd be nice to, I'll get some good connections and sell some quarantined fish for a reasonable price that's affordable. But, so that's kind of on the table too. But sometimes, that maybe this move will be, it'll be a positive. I'll have to move this tank, and it'll be, unfortunate. I know it's not going to look like this, but, maybe it's an opportunity just to start over, do something different. I was thinking about with this tank, I know a lot of hobbyists will build something like even using magnets with solid pieces of acrylic that come out through the middle and completely suspend the rock structure. I've seen that a few times and I really like that look. And then the bottom would be completely open. Okay, and then maybe I could even try sand. I can reorient some of these pumps. It's really hard to do that when you have a small tank like this and you have all this flow, right? Because the sand just blows everywhere. But I do missing having sand. I love bare bottoms too. There's a lot of plus to having a bare bottom. Especially if you have this, like you see this black material here. I forget what it's called. Some type of PVC material, but it's, Reef Savvy does real high-end work. And the bottom of this is just like this hard black PVC. And it looks nice, and coral algae, as you can see, grows really well on it. But I do miss sand. So maybe there'll be some new options, for me to consider when I move and reset this tank back up. Okay, so there's that too. Anything else I need to report or update? Probably, and I'm sure I'll forget, but everything's doing great. Everything's running smoothly. The corals are growing extremely well. Had some difficulty with fish and some disease, but that's just part of the game. Probably should get like this. It's probably annoying that you got this seam right here. It should probably just be like this. But yeah, anyway, fish can be difficult, right? That's just part of the game, and we try to keep them healthy as possible. But I think setting up a quarantine system in the future would be a great idea. Just so that way we don't have to run into problems with introducing fish that have not been quarantined and then disease spreads, right? Anyway, I'll just do a couple close-up shots of everything. I really suck with this camera.